Sorry.
Okay, try it. Go now. You got it.
I'm excited to be able to give 3 milestone pins to 3 of our HMR clients that have been working really, really hard. So they're in my pocket. Okay, so first I would love for Deanna to come up here and get her 50-pound weight loss pin. Congratulations! Yay! Do you want to say any words of wisdom?
I think that the program is amazing. I've been on the program exactly 5 months, and I've gone from a size 22 to a size 14.
Thank you. Laura gets her 100-pound pin today.
Yay!
Thank you, Joya. I'm sure I'll say more. She has plenty of time for wisdom. And then, Chris, come on up and get your 125-pound pin.
Yes! You're awesome.
Christina, thank you for everything you've helped me with. Chuck, thank you for convincing me to sign up. It's changed my life forever. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, man. I'm sorry that Chuck's not on the video right now because he's crying. And we get to see that a lot in our office, but I know you all don't get to see that very often. Okay, now I am happy to pass the microphone over to Sharon, who will be the MC for today. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Those of you in the room that know me know I'm really passionate about this program.
Before the questions, start out by asking them just a 2-minute version. 2 minute, yeah, good. Right.
So anyway, very passionate about the program and happy to pay it forward any way I can. So I am awed to be in the presence of U6 champions and success stories for this amazing program here at Milestone. So I'm excited to hear your words of inspiration, and we're all in for a treat. So as Chuck said, we're going to start out by letting each one of you, maybe for 2-3 minutes, tell us what had you start your journey and what encouraged you to come on board, and then maybe share a little bit of what your success was, if you want to share your weight loss. I will say that this group cumulatively has lost 600 pounds. So
Wow.
It's amazing. So we're going to go ahead and start with Laura, and we'll let you go first, and then just pass it on down, and I'll make my way over there and grab it back from you when you get finished.
Hi, I'm Laura Jones, and a little over a year ago, I was up for promotion at work and was very excited about the opportunity, but also knew myself that I overextend myself and completely throw myself into that, and had been trying to improve myself, my health, and work out and eat better and just do that on my own. And as I was leaving the gym, leaving Milestone one night, I was thinking, with this new promotion, I really need to maintain this work-life balance I've been trying to work so hard for the past couple months, and I really need to stick with that, and I need to find a way to do it. Well, how am I going to do that? And I walked past the sign right out here, all the HMR information. I knew about the program. I knew people in the past who'd done the program, and as that thought was crossing my head that I need to take care of myself, I looked over and there was that sign. Thanks. Yeah, there was my sign. So, and it had the information sessions listed. I thought, well, what's it going to hurt to go to an information session? And 362 days later and 100 pounds, I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt DeCapua. I was trying to lose weight and take care of my health for about 7 years. I would go up and down. I would try every program out there. I would lose weight, and then I would slowly gain it all back. And then I kind of got to a place where I thought, this is just me. This is just my lot in life. And I tried to make peace with where I was at. I was about 300 pounds. And one morning I was getting dressed for work and I was trying to tie my shoes, and I was completely winded trying to bend over to tie my shoes. I felt like I just ran a marathon. And so it was kind of like a check engine light kind of popped on, like, yeah, you're trying to make peace with this version of who you are, but this is not really who you are. Don't give up. There's hope. There's something else out there. So I started looking into different programs, and I found the HMR program. I came here, and the thing that stood out to me is there was a high level of accountability. I wasn't just a number. I was an actual person that they were highly invested in. They knew me. They cared about me. They took a very particular interest in me. I didn't feel that they were trying to sell me anything. And really, it's the community that I got involved in, and not only the health educators, as amazing as they are, but all the other people on this journey, coming week after week and seeing people fight, fight for survival, fight for every inch of weight loss. And something just started to click over time, and the weight started to come off. But beyond the weight, I started to gain life management skills, how to cope with stress, and stop turning to food as my coping mechanism. I started to learn to turn to exercise to manage my stress relief. And then instead of finding food as my main event through holidays and birthdays and summer events, I started to value people over the food. So the food is not the highlight of the picnic, but people are. And so I've been coming up on 2 years now, through just walking through these different seasons of life and learning these tools. I've lost around 96 pounds, but beyond the weight loss, I've become, a champion. I've become someone who knows how to face life without turning to food to cope with it, and I'm very thankful for the program.
Hi, I'm Tracy Bodenhausen, and I'm one of the people they call an HMR lifer. I have been in the program here since the fall of 2015, and I came at the urging of a family member who actually basically did an intervention with me and came to my home, and it was my dad, and he said to me, your mother and I are getting older, and we're very concerned about you. We're afraid that we're going to die and you're not going to be far behind us. That you have let yourself go, and that we're just real concerned we won't be here. And he had already, through his doctor, researched a program. And I had been in other weight loss programs before and had lost weight, gained weight, lost weight, gained weight. And I'd been doing that for my entire life. And his doctor recommended this program. And so I made an appointment, came to one of the sessions to begin with, and signed up and came. And in the first 7 months that I was here, I lost 110 pounds. So this program works. It absolutely works. And I kept that weight off for a little over a year. And then I started putting weight back on. And I gained weight back. And I started then back into phase 1, and I lost part of that weight. And was finding it way more difficult the second time around to lose the weight that I had put back on. And I came to realize that for myself, I had more than just an eating problem, that I had other issues with food that I needed to deal with, that HMR is a fabulous plan of eating, but if I didn't take care of the other emotional, physical, mental reasons as to why I was eating, I was still going to do nothing but go up and down. So I'm in a down journey at this point now, but it's through using this program and additional resources that is helping me to realize and work toward those goals. So.
Hi, I'm Mike Wagner. My path is a little different. About Thanksgiving a year ago, I was in the gym, out exercising, a bad diet, and I had a heart attack. So it was pretty shocking. I thought I was doing fine. I went through 40 minutes of cardio and was on this third round of weight training on some machines, and started feeling pretty bad. When I put myself on the floor, I said, get 911 in here, and about that time it felt like two guys with jackhammers jumping on my chest. So they finally came. I said, let's go over here, and so we got through and went through. They put the one stent in. I had 100% blockage, and as I was going up to the cardiac place you go after you get that stent put in, the nurse bent down and said, sir, you owe Dr. Schmidt a great deal of gratitude, which pretty much told me things were going pretty bad. I mean, they took my BP, it was 60/40. So I said, I know that's not good, but we're just going to hang in here till we get this thing done. So my path in through the cardiologist and what have you, hey, you know, your blood pressures, you got to keep it under control. You can keep your cholesterol under control, da-da-da-da-da. So as the year proceeded on, I felt pretty good, and I did feel good. Now, I felt good before I had the heart attack. And the cardiologist said 50% of the people never even feel it. So I had not a terrible diet, but enough that every year I'd gain a pound or two since I was probably 35 years old, and I was about 240, low 240s, and that's where I was at. So my path proceeded to a big event we have where we raise funds for a foundation, and I saw one of my buddies there, and I looked at him and I thought he had cancer and was dying. I said, something's wrong with this guy. And it was Mike Potter, and Mike said, no, I joined this HMR program at Milestone. And when the event was over, I grabbed a hold of him and said, well, tell me more about this. And I was so tired of battling blood pressure and so tired of battling cholesterol. I would almost have a panic attack when I had to go to the doctor to get my blood pressure, because I knew it was going to skyrocket, 30 points. And, oh, you need more medicine, you need more medicine. So I'm on blood thinners, I'm on a slower heart rate and cholesterol and blood pressure medicine. So I'm just done with it. So I came here, I went to, I knew what I wanted to do. So, well, you need to come to the introductory class. I'm not coming, I just want to start. I want to start today. So they bypassed the introductory class for me, which I thank you for doing that. And off I went. So the first week, things went great, 7 pounds. Then I went on a 3-week vacation down in Florida. And let me tell you something. I spent $8,000 hauling food down there, and I did pretty good. I lost a little. I didn't lose a lot, but it was very difficult to go out every night. You could go out virtually every night and lose weight. But I hung in there, and I came back, and I got super focused. I've lost about 34 pounds. I started at 239 when I weighed in. I'm in the mid-200s. I always wanted to be in the 2 zeros. I wanted something to say 20. So don't get me wrong, Christina's still urging me to get to 190 something, but hey, we'll get there. But anyway, I've learned a massive amount, and I tried the Weight Watchers. I tried to out-exercise a bad diet, and I thought I could never do without breakfast, and I thought I could never do without cheeseburgers. My favorite food is cheeseburger. I thought I could never do it, but decisions are made easy when your values are clear. And this program, more than anything, has made my values clear. Now, 2 guys with jackhammers on your chest helps that. But, and you don't know what's going on in your heart. You don't know what's going on in your body. You don't know what's going on with your heredity. And I just have felt like this, for me, has kind of changed my values and made my decisions a lot easier. So I thank you, Christina. I thank all the people in the program. I'm proud to say that I've had 7 people join with me, and we've lost about 275 pounds together.
My name is Crystal Christie. I've been in the HMR program since April of 2014. I'm also a lifer, I guess, as they call it. HMR saved my life, much like Mike. I started the program at 35 years old at 300, and I didn't even know how many pounds. It was probably north of 380. I think the first time I actually weighed in, it was 369, but hadn't done that in a long time. And I was in a really rough spot in life. 34 years old, I had a really terrible back injury, and about 2 months before I joined, I'd gone to the neurosurgeon for the 100th time, and the neurosurgeon just broke it down for me real simple. And he said, you need back surgery, and I can't touch you until you lose 100 pounds. He said the surgical tools that I have aren't long enough to even penetrate where they need to, and even if I did, and we fused your spine the way I wanted to, I don't have braces to brace you following surgery. It won't hold. And I said, well, what about the pain? And he said, I'm so sorry. And I said, what about my limited function? And he said, I'm very sorry. There's nothing I can do. And so it took me another 2 months after that visit to realize, okay, I got to focus on this journey. And so I started and lost about 20 pounds really quickly by starving myself, and realized that that was not sustainable. It was very quickly going to come to an end. So I'm a geek. I do technology for a living, so I was surfing around on the internet and came across HMR, and I came to the very first introductory session in this room. And I remember Chuck led the session, the director here, and I remember I came up to him before the session. I said, listen, I have a really bad back. I said, I'm not going to be able to sit through a whole 30-minute session. I'm going to have to stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And he said, you do whatever you need to do. That's fine. And so I couldn't sit through a whole 30-minute session, up and down, up and down. My back was so bad. Basic activities of life were challenging for me. I was 35 years old, and I hadn't put on my own socks in almost 2 years. Showering independently was an impossibility. I worked from home. I couldn't make it to the grocery store. Every delivery food place in a 20 square mile radius knew my name. And so I came and I told Chuck my story, and I said, I got to lose 100 pounds because I got to get this surgery. Got to get this surgery. And he said, well, if you do what I tell you to, you lose 100 pounds. And I said, okay, whatever. I said, it's not going to work. Nothing ever does. I said, I've done them all. I've done every diet you can imagine because I've been overweight since I was a small child. I said, Weight Watchers, Denny Craig, counting calories, you name it. I have done it. I jokingly tell people that I did this one diet one time where you only eat cereal. And I lost weight because cereal has a lot of fiber. It is not a good way to lose weight, though. So, and so Chuck said, do what I tell you to do. You'll lose weight. And so I did. I did exactly what he told me to do. I went home that night and had my last meal. And I was jokingly telling someone earlier today that I don't really remember what that was. Some days it feels like it was pizza, and some days it feels like it was Taco Bell. And I told someone earlier today that in actuality it was probably both. And so I did that and came back the next day and started the program. And I was 100% in the box. That's what we call it when we're eating the way we're supposed to be. I was 100% in the box. I was super focused, had a lot of great support from my health educators here in Chuck, and started the program in April of 2014. By September of 2014, I'd lost my 100 pounds. And went to the neurosurgeon, and I said, I lost 100 pounds. And he said, oh my God, you did. Wow. And I said, he said, are you ready for surgery? And I said, actually, I think I feel a little better. And he said, well, let's keep going. And so by January of 2015, I had lost 150 pounds. Went back to the neurosurgeon for my quarterly meeting, and I said, I lost 150 pounds. And he said, yeah, you have. And so he said, you ready for surgery? I said, no, I'm feeling better, I think. I can go to the grocery store. I can go to a movie. I hadn't been to a movie in years. I was 35 years old and hadn't been to a movie in years. And so by June of that next year, or June of 2015, a little over a year after I started the program, I had hit my 200-pound loss mark. And I went to the neurosurgeon. I'm 200 pounds. He said, wow, what about surgery? And I said, I feel really good. I think I'm okay. And he said, well, let's do this. Let's not schedule any follow-up sessions. Let's see how things go. So it took me another few months to lose my final 30 pounds. My total weight loss is somewhere between 220 and 230 pounds, depending on where I actually started. I'm not quite sure. But HMR has done that for me. It's changed my life. When I started this program, I was isolated and super depressed, and I didn't even realize it. And this program has given me support and a structure and a family that I didn't know was out there. And it's given me hopes and dreams that I really didn't even think were possible at the point in life I was at. And thinking about not being able to put on your socks at 34 years old. I got a dog in July. And I take her on 3 20-minute walks a day, or at least we try, because she's overweight too. And so I take her on 3 walks a day. I could not go to the grocery store or to work 5 years ago. I am engaged and getting married in May. And that was something I never thought would happen, right? So HMR has not just changed my life, but it has saved my life. Prior to HMR, I say I was surviving every day. I survived the day. I was not living. HMR has given me the tools to live, and I live well now, and it is so exciting. And those were dreams that I didn't even know were possible 5 years ago. So that's what HMR has given me. Thank you.
That's a tough act to follow. I'm Stuart Goldberg, and full disclosure, I started this program in 2003, so I guess I'm the granddaddy of. And I lost about 35 or so pounds then. I was very happy, lost it pretty quickly, left the program, came back in 2009, 5 pounds heavier than when I started in 2003. I didn't quite get the benefit of this program at that time, but I do now. I've been in it ever since 2009. This will be my 10th year. And when I first started this program, it had the feeling that it was going to cost money because there were fees and you had to buy the food and so forth. And having a real strong accounting background, I already knew what my grocery bills were. And so I figured out what I was spending with the attitude that I wanted to see what this program was costing me. Well, when I got all the data back, guess what? It wasn't costing me anything. It was saving me money. I was spending less money at the grocery than I was prior to it. And when you think about it, when you're eating less, losing weight, how are you going to spend more money at the grocery store, you know? And not only that, this program teaches you to buy healthy foods, and healthy foods are actually cheaper than the processed foods that we were accustomed to buying. So just to cover the financial part of it a little bit, but I came back in 2009 very, very discouraged because I'd been on every program that many of which, like Crystal, you wouldn't even have heard of. And many of them worked, but they all had one thing in common. They couldn't be sustained for a long period of time. That's where this program is different. This is not a weight loss program. If you're in the program, you've heard your educator say it. Not a weight loss program, it's a lifestyle program, and it truly is. And over time, it really does change your life. I had quadruple bypass surgery before I joined the program. I was a serious diabetic. I was on insulin. I'm off of insulin now. Doctor said that couldn't be done. It does work. And I really do owe my life, because if I had continued the trajectory I was on, I'm sure I wouldn't be sitting here right now. My doctors agree. And I'm off of so much medication, it's just unreal. The cost savings of that alone is enormous. But I've lost 55 pounds since I started in 2009. I lost most of it in the first couple of years, and then I didn't really, and I had gotten down to my original goal weight, and I decided that I really didn't know what my goal weight was. That I was going to continue to lose weight until I felt like I was at the right place. And I'm not quite there yet, but I'm real close. And it took me, I lost about 35 pounds or 40, and it's taken me the last few years to lose the other 15. And I'm really trying to lose more. But in that period of time, my mindset has completely changed. How I look at a menu when I walk into a restaurant, how I feel about food. It's not the struggle it was in the beginning. It just becomes part of your being. And I owe that to the classes. And you would think going in the 10th year that I heard everything. I learned something new in every single class. It is amazing because new people come in with new problems and issues, and new products come on the marketplace. It really is an incredible program. Taught me how to cook, taught me what to do with stuff in the grocery store that I couldn't even spell, let alone say. And I challenge anybody to go through any significantly sized grocery store in the produce department and write down everything you see, and then go home and check off the ones that you've either ever eaten or know how to fix. And you'll find it's a small minority of what you can go out there and get. And all that's healthy stuff. So if you have that big wide world in front of you, you're not depriving yourself. You're just going to learn new things. And it really is a remarkable program. It really does work. And it's the only one, and I've been on every one of them. You name them, I've been on it. It's the only one that's going to be long term. And it really is.
Killing me. Okay, amazing, all of you. Our first question was what motivated you to start your journey, and I think you've pretty much answered that with your introductions, which is awesome stories. But I think I'd like to ask the next question is, all of you have been in the program for some 10 years, some 2 years, some a year, some 3. What has kept you motivated? Let's start here. That way.
Yeah.
What's kept me motivated is success. And the realization back in 2009 that I was going to just stay in this program. It was going to save me money in the long run. Because my grocery bill was going to be less, my doctor bills were going to be less, my medicine was going to be less, and if that was the price, that was worth it. And not only that, I have to confess, I absolutely hate to exercise. And Christina and Chuck will attest to that, but I do it anyway because I know I need to. And I figured, well, I need to come here anyway to exercise. I might as well join the class and stay motivated. And it's the class that keeps me going. It's the people in it and watching their successes. And it's just been a wonderful journey.
I think there are a lot of things that have kept me motivated over the course of the last 5 years or almost 5 years. But I think remembering where I started, remembering why I started, those things keep me motivated in times that are challenging, times that are hard. But also the support of the program, the support of my family. Those things keep me moving forward when you're having rough days. We all have really rough days, and I don't think anyone is quite prepared for the transformation that the loss of over 200 pounds brings to your life. And I certainly wasn't. It was emotional and hard, losing the weight itself, but once I got there, life was different. And it is hard sometimes to stay motivated. Life was different in really strange ways. I think when you're heavy, people tell you that at the end of your journey, there's rainbows and unicorns and all flowers, and life is wonderful on the other side. And it is, but it also comes with a lot of emotional overhead that you didn't know existed. So being overweight most of my life, I had come to use my weight as my primary excuse, right? So I didn't get that job. Well, it was because I was overweight. That person didn't return the affection, right? Well, that was because I was overweight. And so I lost that primary excuse. So if someone didn't like me or I didn't get a job, it was because of me. And that's hard, really hard. But it doesn't fix everything. Weight loss doesn't, but these classes do, and they help. knowing that you're not in this alone keeps you moving forward. Knowing that, oh my God, you have that thing too? So do I. That keeps you moving forward. So I think that the classes, remembering why I started the journey I started, those are the things that keep me motivated to continue. And I also just feel really good. That helps.
I think for me it's a combination of things. Can continue to keep me motivated. I've coached football 34 years of my life, so I've been motivating people and kids to do their best. And I never could seem to quite get over the hump. But this program, the success, the success, how it's made me feel physically. I've always exercised. Can't say I've always enjoyed it, but it's something now that it's so much easier. It's easy for me to work out for an hour and a half. It's easy for me to do 80 to 100 minutes a week of interval training than it was when I was 45, 50 years old. And so that, I think, motivates me. All my friends that have joined motivates me to keep that journey going. And I think it's a process for me that's easier. It's easier than Weight Watchers. It's easier than trying to out exercise the diet. And when everybody you see, somebody tells you how man, you look great. You look great. We went to a bunch of guys from I see from high school. Man, I can't believe you look like you go out and play today. I said, well, I can't play today, but I feel good about it. So that's the motivation, the whole thing, the whole program, everything I've learned, everything Christina's taught me. It motivates me, continues to motivate me.
I think for me, part of what keeps me motivated coming back to these classes is the fact of the people sitting in these rooms, the accountability that you get from them, and the new things that you learn in every class that you come to. The tools, as I have been on this journey for the last 4 years through this process, and again, I've still lost and come up and lost and come up and lost, but I've learned now to refine my tools, refine what I need to do, the things that work for me. I have learned finally and gotten honest with myself about what are my trigger foods, my trigger behaviors, things that you think when you're starting this that, oh, I'm going to lose this weight and then I'll still be able to eat things. No, you don't. No, you don't. When you're honest with yourself about it, you realize that there are certain foods that you're just not going to be able to eat again. And it doesn't matter if your friend says, okay, sure, can't you eat that a couple of times a year? Well, you would never tell somebody who had an addiction to another substance, oh, can't you have that a couple of times a year? And I have an addiction to food, and I had to be honest about that. And to do that again, as I say, I had to start refining for myself. What are the behaviors that I can't do anymore? What are the foods that I just can't eat anymore? And how am I going to keep myself motivated to not do those things? And I get that by being in these rooms. So.
What keeps me motivated is the journey. I have not arrived, so it's 2 years I've been on this path, but that's 40 to 41 years of living and thinking and relating to food and seeing food as a reward. So it's just a journey. It's exciting. It's new. There's so much more out there. There's so much fine tuning and that's happening along the way. The other thing that keeps me motivated is I have a 9-year-old and 10-year-old, and they've been brought up in a culture, even a culture within our home, of relating to food the way I previously did. So I guess the best way to be the change in the world we live in is to face the man in the mirror and live it out yourself, and to do it consistently. I've been doing it now for 2 years, and Now my kids, after 2 years of consistently doing this, keeping the weight off, they're starting to say, hey, what are you eating? Or, they're starting to, I can see their interests are now on board because it's not a fad. It's not something that's going in and out. In our culture right now, we have a big emphasis to push that smoking is bad for you, right? So everyone pretty much knows that. If you smoke, you know that it's bad for you. It's just a choice you've made. My passion is to see poor food choices in that same category, but people are very much so ignorant, and they very much don't realize how to relate to calories or fat, sugar, and salt. And so we can be the change by living it out ourselves and then influencing our friends and family and the people around us through our lifestyle choices.
There are so many things that motivate me. I think a big one is to be able to do things that I hadn't been able to do for many, many years. A friend of mine and I this fall went to Dollywood and rode every roller coaster multiple times. And her mom bought us t-shirts to celebrate that had all the roller coasters on it. One day in one of our exercise classes here, I, not even thinking about it, jumped down and did a burpee. I was like, whoa. I did that. I slipped on the black ice the other day and did the splits inadvertently. It was actually somewhat graceful instead of breaking a hip. So being able to do those things, but also to be able to go shopping and buy clothes that are fun and that actually enjoy shopping again and like that, and the compliments from friends and family and all that support. In the classes, having the health educators who celebrate with you and get excited with you for those victories. But also when you're stalled and you're not seeing the results, to see someone else in the class that has had that breakthrough. So to give you hope that if I just keep staying the course, it will happen. But for me, the biggest motivator from the beginning, I joined Milestone about 1.5 years ago for the 4th time. I came back, and one of the first things you do is you have a appointment with a personal trainer, and they do an assessment, and they have a Tanita scale, and it gives you all of your different indicators. And along the way, it's been great. There's so many different numbers other than just that one on the scale that give you those measurements and give you those victories. But on that Tanita scale, it gives you your metabolic age, and my metabolic age was 15 years older than what I actually am. And I learned that you can actually buy those Tanita scales at home. I learned that in one of our HMR sessions. And so I bought one a couple weeks ago, and now my metabolic age, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm only 5 years older now. So I gained back 66% of my life.
That's awesome. Okay, our next question, and we don't always have to go up and down the row. If somebody wants to go first, just let me know and I'll pass the mic to you, but everybody will get a chance, so whatever you all are comfortable with. So our next question is, what would you say was your biggest challenge or struggle? You ready to go first? I'll go next? Okay.
I jokingly say this is an easy one for me, but it is the hardest struggle for me still. So I'm an emotional eater, always have been, probably always will be. And that's been the largest challenge, I think, for me in this process. Once I understood the rhythm of how to eat and what to eat, the rhythm of what that looked like, I was on my weight loss path, and I've been maintaining now for almost 4 years, I guess, 3.5. So it works very well. But when I am feeling stressed or sad, or sometimes happy, depending on the day, I really still go to food as that first choice. It is something that I've done my whole life, and so it's really hard to get out of that habit when it's a habit you've established that you've done for years. So I've learned different ways to cope with stress, much like Mike said earlier. You learn different ways through activity. I had a lot of physical restrictions, so exercise really wasn't a possibility for me because of my back. But I'm a geek, so I started building models, metal models, and that occupied my hands and occupied my time, and actually became a great form of stress relief for me. I learned to meditate and be mindful, and that's been very helpful in my journey. but I still stress eat. It happens. I just eat differently now. Instead of stress eating with 6 Dunkin' Donuts or 12, I stress eat bananas or broccoli. I had a pretty stressful event when moving about a year ago, and I tell people all the time, I went into Target and I went straight to the food aisle and I grabbed 6 bananas. And I shopped in Target for the cleaning supplies I needed because I was moving. And I checked out with 6 banana peels. And the lady at the counter said, "You ate all those bananas?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I ate every one. 30 minutes, that's right." And, but it was better than 6 Dunkin' Donuts. It's still not great, don't do that. It's a terrible idea. It's 660 calories worth of bananas, so don't do that every day. But you learn different skills. You learn to stress eat differently. You learn to manage your emotions differently. But that is still the biggest struggle for me, is that how do you deal with that emotional side of eating? And this program helps with that, because we can come in here and we can share the stories and we can laugh together and we can talk about our struggles together and we can learn from each other. I'm sure I learned that banana trick from somebody, because I did not invent that. No way. So.
It's a great question, and I think causes each one of us probably to pause a little bit and see what it was. For me, I'm pretty sure it was trying to figure out what went wrong the first go-around and what was I going to do the second go-around that was going to be different. And I came to the conclusion of the true value of this program, and that is the lifestyle change. And it gets easier over time. But in the beginning, you have to realize you're not going back to those old foods. You're going to learn choices. You'll hear that word a lot. And I think Chuck one time made a comment that it's not that you can't have something, you just choose to eat something else. And it's those choices that are going to keep you on the program forever. And I think that was the biggest realization that I had and the biggest challenge I had. And change is always hard. I don't care what kind of change it is. And this program is a major change. Excuse me. Losing the weight is the easy part, because they can tell you 1, 2, 3, this is how you get it done. Keeping it off and living in our world is the more difficult part. And this program is phenomenal for that. You not only have terrific health educators, but you also have these classes in which people are bringing their real world experiences in. And as good as the health educators are, excuse me, they can't be exposed to every one of these things that the class is exposed to. So that class really does bring a lot of new information in all the time. And it's a great experience.
I think my biggest issue is the fear of how am I going to do this? How am I going to go through life without eating Frank's pancakes? My buddy Frank's got famous pancakes made for him at Wild Eggs, in case you all ever go by there and want to feed those to your grandchildren or something. Frank's cakes. So, and it's a social event. We ate socially. We drank socially. Not to excess, but we did, and what's 2 glasses of wine and Frank's pancakes, not for breakfast naturally, but because you add all those things with the great cheeseburgers and the great steaks and how am I going to do this forever? So I think it's been my biggest challenge is that, hey, I can get this thing started, but how am I going to get this thing finished and continue it? So you always wonder, can you make those decisions? Those values that you've got, can you constantly bombard those values and say, can I do this today because I don't want blood pressure to go up? Can you do that the rest of your life? And I think the whole program is a combination of things that help you overcome those fears and those doubts in your mind. And I think they're always going to be there. But I think whatever part of this program gets you back in where you need to be, I think those parts are here, and that's what helps me.
I think for me it was, and I've already said, it was getting honest with myself, and in being honest with myself, it was realizing that I have a food addiction, and that it wasn't necessarily my fault that I had these problems, and that certain foods would literally trigger in my brain the need to overeat, and that those foods were things that I was not going to be able to eat, but at the same time to learn new tools that I could use that would keep me from some of those things. And I mean, I have guidelines that I have set up for myself anymore. Things like there's just no fast food. There's none. Because if I go to a fast food place, and even if it's what would be considered good food, almost anything there has got substances in it that for me are triggering substances. I don't eat gas station food. I don't eat in my car. I don't eat standing up. I try not to eat in front of the TV. I have learned that a meal has a beginning and an end, that breakfast doesn't last until lunch starts. Okay? That it just doesn't. And I try to set limits to myself to eat those meals in. I've learned that I can do things like bookend a meal. I can let a friend know who's with me in my journey and text them very easily and say, this is what I'm going to eat for breakfast, and I'm going to eat it from this time to this time. And at the end of that time, I then can text them back and say, I did this. Because if I give them to somebody else what I'm going to do, then I have the accountability to myself on the back end of it to be able to go to them and say, this is what I did do. And so little tools like that. Sticky notes around my house that have slogans. I'm real big on 5 and 6, 7 word slogans that I can run through my mind to try and stop me. I'm wearing a bracelet these days that I had made that on the red side of it says think first. And that's for my red foods, the stuff I can't eat. And on the green side of it, it says food is fuel. So that instead of thinking that food is comfort, food makes you less stressed, food makes you celebratory, whatever those things were that I wanted to use food for, food doesn't do those things. Food is fuel. So little things like that is the way that I've managed to try to do these things for myself.
Okay, biggest challenge, one thing I would say is it took me a longer amount of time to lose the amount of weight I did than most people on this panel, because I didn't want to trust the process in phase 1. So if you're thinking about coming on board or you're in phase 1, there is a tried and true process that's there. And so if you try to cut corners and buy shakes from some other place or go to the Kroger grocery store and get a frozen meal with the same amount of calories, you really are playing games, and you're going to delay your success, because there is a model in place, and if you'll trust the process, it will work. And you have to remember, when you're in phase 1, it feels like it's going to take forever, but if you follow it, it won't. And if you try to play games, you'll be in and out, you'll be up and you'll be down, and you'll delay where you really could be. So I was not the most ideal or compliant student of this program, but after, the scale doesn't lie either when you're in phase 1, so you can make any argument you want, but when you say you followed it, but you didn't, and you're up 2 pounds. I just got tired of playing games, and I kind of buckled down and did what they asked me to do. And then when I got really compliant with it and serious with it, I mean, it just works. Secondly, a big challenge I had faced was eating out. It's just a part of our culture. It's part of our society. Whenever I was asked to go to eat out with colleagues or whatnot, I would have a tremendous amount of anxiety. I would just be really like not wanting to go, or if I went, I would just have so much stress as to try to figure out what to order. but that's not a challenge now because I've been here now for so long, and the health educators, you can text them, you can call them, they'll give you all kinds of strategies. And now, when I roll up into a restaurant, I mean, some of the people's faces drop that are sitting there at the table with me, because I call them over to the side and I'm like, this is how it's going to be. I want my chicken without oil or butter. I don't want any dressing on my salad. I want to, we're gonna walk through this, and then we're gonna double and triple check it, and definitely tip them well after you wore them out with that long, lengthy list of what you're gonna do. But it's your money, it's your life, it's your health. And it doesn't matter who's with you, if they're offended or not. We're going to get it your way, and so I've just kind of built up a strength in that area, so I don't have any fear anymore with that.
I saw something on Facebook yesterday or recently that said it's Christmas, or it's someone's birthday, or it's Friday, or it's a day that ends in Y. Every day can be a special occasion, right? So, and like so many of us on the panel, and I'm sure many of us in the room, that there are those special occasions, and having friends and family, oh, but it's a special occasion, you can have this, or, treat yourself. But again, well, yesterday was a special occasion, so was the day before. So having that strategy, and it's great at the end of every one of our sessions that we have part of that is what challenges do you have coming up, and we strategize together of how you can plan for that, how you can prepare for that, as well as being able to text or email any time of day to get that feedback and that strength of how we can handle those special occasions. So and not let those eat away at your success. But also a challenge for me has been really to be selfish and to make sure I take that time to plan ahead, whether it's go to the grocery, pack my food, even if it makes me a few minutes late for wherever I'm going, or to keep sacred my workout time. That you want to get together during this time, sorry, I'm available in the afternoon, but the gym is my morning time, and to be selfish with that and schedule it just as if it were an appointment, and make sure that I make myself a priority.
That's really some great advice. Chuck, get with Tracy. Tracy, get with Chuck. We need your Think First, Food is Fuel bracelets. I think we all need those here.
Right,
that's a great
that's
idea.
Ordered them online.
That is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really awesome.
That's good.
Okay, so next question. What surprised you the most? Either about HMR itself, or about your journey, or maybe a combination of both? Anybody want to go first? Good, I'll stay on this side for a second.
I hate to say it's easy, but for me, it was easy. That I didn't have to think. That before, I'd go home from work, stop by the grocery, oh, what sounds good tonight? And, the entire grocery was my option. And now it's, okay, is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable? Is it an entree or shake? What do I have left to eat in my day? I have a vegetable left and an entree left. What vegetable do I want? What entree do I want? And I think in one of our sessions it came up, and when you look at all that other food, you wouldn't eat the dog's food in the dog's bowl. So when you're at a party and you see all the smothered and covered, and just think, well, that's dog food. I don't eat dog food. So just those little strategies and things. So, and there have been challenges and things that are harder to resist, but in general, on a day-to-day basis, because it is so regimented, it's made it easy for me. And the support adds to that.
So what surprised me the most, I guess it's easy for people who've struggled with weight to say, it's cliche to say, oh, I've tried everything, okay? So I think the thing that makes this different is community. What you have here is a very intimate community. Before I came here, I visited a Weight Watchers, and when I went in there, I just went to one meeting. When they did the weigh-in, it was like the people who were standing by the scale didn't know the people who were checking in. You were just like a number, and they were just coming in and pouring in, and they were just writing it down. I was like, wow, they don't even know their name. They didn't. It was just too many people. And that part of it, it felt very frigid, very cold. And then when I came here, you're dealing with people. The way I say it is, this is not their career. This their paycheck. I sincerely believe that the health educators here, if they had the financial resources to do it, would do it for free, because they care about the people, okay? And so the community part, you may have tried different diets, but it's highly unlikely you did it with a family, and you may not get the support in your home or with your colleagues or your workplace, but you will here. And strength is in numbers, and so that surprised me. That's what keeps me coming back.
Wait, hold up, she has something.
I just remember something I forgot too. The big surprise to me, and I mentioned I belonged to Milestone on and off over the years. Have walked past, have seen the food at the front desk, the entrees and things, and being somewhat of a foodie, I'm like, oh, shelf-stable food, I don't know about that. That was my honest before joining this program. And someone spoke about their last meal, and one of my two last meals was I knew Italian was going to be off the table, so a friend of mine and I went to a very reputable Italian chain. I won't say them by name, but one that's consistently good quality. That was my last meal, and it wasn't that good. And the first time I opened the rotini Alfredo, I was like, oh my gosh, this was better than my last meal. So that is something that really surprised me, how really good the entrees are. And a year later, I enjoy those more than even thinking about other foods. So that was a surprise for me.
I think for me, it was the surprise of not trusting what my health educators had to say to me in the beginning in a particular phrase, which was that losing the weight is easy. Maintaining that weight loss is where it's going to be tough. Because I came into this thinking, oh my God, how am I going to lose? Because I'm looking at it in my head knowing I need to lose 100 pounds. And trying to look at it that way. Instead of realizing that I could look at this one day at a time and what was I doing on that day, and that I could do what I was doing in eating my 325 in that day, but that again, how easily it did come off, and then it stayed off to begin with. So when they would then say to us, it's the maintaining it that's the hard part, and how many people would lose their weight when they would come into this program, and then they'd leave, and we wouldn't see them again. And all of a sudden, here they would come back 3 months, 6 months, a year later, and they've put this weight on, but they knew they could come back here because this program works. And they've done it before, and they came back again. And then they might get down to their weight again, they leave again, and the next thing you know, here they come back again. And for me, that's one reason why I have attempted to just stay here in the program, and look at it as my family, because it's the maintaining the weight loss with all the other triggers in society and everything else that's out there bombarding us to not do things in a proper way. When you come into these rooms every week and see your people and hear about their struggles that are the same struggles that you have, and you don't feel like you're alone out there when your family members look at you and say, well, I don't understand why you can't just not eat that, or I don't understand why you have such a hard time stopping eating that, or they don't get your struggles that you're on. And you can come in these rooms and be with people that do get it.
What surprises me is that I still want to be here. After 6 months, 6.5 months, I still want to be here. And the other thing that surprises me is that I can get by just fine without eating eggs every morning for breakfast, and Canadian bacon or bacon, and Frank's pancakes, and 2 glasses of wine. That surprises me. So that's what surprised me.
Your tolerance for wine for breakfast is
Unbelievable.
I think I get emotional when I talk about my story, and because it is emotional. And I think that's probably the most surprising thing. It's the way I feel about me now. I always, when I was heavy, I'm loud, gregarious, Crystal. I've always been that. That's who I am. I love people and I love being around people. But the perception of you changes over the course of a big weight loss. And that was a surprise to me. People looked at me differently in the grocery store when I was average sized than they did when I was heavy. I'm a very friendly, outgoing person. I could probably have a good conversation with that door. That's who I am. And people didn't reciprocate that when I weighed almost 400 pounds, but they do now. And your identity fundamentally changes when you lose that kind of weight. And it's because of the reflection that you see in the mirror. It's because of the way you've always been. And now you have to think of those things differently. So I had to be loud, gregarious Crystal when I weighed 400 pounds because I was invisible to everyone. And that was the way I could be visible. Well, loud, gregarious Crystal at average size weight doesn't always come across as well. And so I think those were the biggest surprises to me, is how differently people regard me now, how I feel about myself now. Those were the challenges. I think it is, it's really hard. It is to question who you are and to question your value. Those are hard places to be. And this program and that weight loss forced me to do those things. It forced me to prioritize myself, much like Laura was saying earlier. And it forced me to understand that I didn't really like myself before. And that's hard. But I do now. That's the biggest surprise, the way I feel about me. People say, if you could take one lesson out of this journey, what do you take? And it's that I'm worth it. It's that I'm worth every minute of that food prep. I'm worth every minute of that hour grocery shop. I'm worth every minute of that food prep. I'm worth every minute of that struggle. I am worth it. And that was the biggest surprise to me.
I've had several surprises. One was the flex. While this program is very specific, the staff is enormously flexible because every person in the program has different needs. It may be from an exercise need. They cannot do everything that everybody else can do. Could be some eating allergies, whatever it is. The staff here is enormously flexible in working with you as an individual. I mentioned earlier I got off insulin. One way I did it was become a vegan, and I thought that would kick me out of this program because a lot of the foods that you buy are not vegan. And on the contrary, they helped me through that and said, no, this is going to work perfect for you. And they helped me through it. And I got a tremendous amount of support from that and did get off the insulin and haven't been back on it since. The other thing that surprises me is that I thought from the beginning that I was just going to have to learn how to resist these trigger foods and other foods. What has surprised me is over this period of time, I don't even want them anymore. That has really surprised me. I think I've shared in class sometimes, I was a popcorn freak. Mm-hmm. I mean, I couldn't even go to a movie theater because I knew I'd order popcorn. And I rarely have it anymore. And I certainly can, but I don't. It just has gone out of my mind. And when I go into a restaurant, some of the high-fat, high-sugar foods that I used to gravitate towards, they don't even appeal to me. So this does change over time, but you do have to train it and work at it and give it time.
There's one other thing that surprised me, and that is how inexpensive normal size clothes are. So I did want to add that. So I shopped in overweight stores for clothes my whole life, and it's crazy. They charge you $60 for a t-shirt. It's insane. So that was the other thing that surprised me that I think is just kind of interesting and funny. When you get down to your goal weight and you can start doing some of those shopping ventures, clothes are going to be way less expensive.
I'm jealous. I've not gotten over my popcorn. I've been known to go next door and steal my neighbor's popcorn because I can't bring it in my house. Okay, this next one, get ready, because I remember this from our first panel that I was on, and it really kind of took my breath away. So tell us what your biggest aha moment was. And you all can think about it and let me know who wants to go first. Okay.
So I've had a couple aha moments. One was when I wasn't eating mindfully or living mindfully, and your life is busy, you're in a rush, you go through your routine, then you catch a glimpse of yourself. Maybe it's in a mirror, maybe it's in a window pane in the mall, and you're like, whoa, like wow. So that's one. But the one I wanted to talk about is after I've lost the weight now, there'll be times where I'm either brushing my teeth or getting ready, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, whoa, like I don't recognize myself. And that is an awesome feeling. Not the first whoa, but that second whoa, you're washing your hands, you're looking in the mirror, you're walking past a something in the mall, and you see a reflection. I'm just like, my goodness, like I really don't recognize myself. So I'm pretty happy about it, actually.
I think I had two as well that come to mind, and the first was actually from the very first information session, where I think, like most Americans, believe that you could work out and watch your diet and it's kind of 50-50, right? Well, when they said that really weight loss is 75% or more diet and 25% exercise, that exercise is still an important part of it, but it's not the majority. That was a big aha moment for me and really helped to get me started and focus more on the diet side plus the exercise, but readjust that emphasis. So that was huge to get me started and get me going. And I guess it was three and a half months into the program, and I had bought a bag of dog food. Buy the 40-pound bag of dog food at Costco. And I keep my dog food in my basement and carried it in the house, and I was carrying it down the stairs, and I realized I've lost 40 pounds. I've lost this. And I used to carry this every day up and down these stairs. And to actually feel that weight that I no longer had on me, and did it the other day, and I was actually struggling, I think because I'm smaller now. I thought, now I've lost 2.5 of these. And that's a huge reminder. I'm like, I wish I bought dog food more often, have that reminder more frequently. But it is to feel that weight that I used to carry around and have that realization that how much better I feel.
I have to think for a minute. I guess as well that I've had several aha moments. One of them is that I still don't like to work out. And that is an aha moment, to be able to admit to myself that even though I do it and it has now become a part of my life, I still don't like it. But the fact is that I do it because I know how important it is for me. And I would never have thought before I started this program that I could belong to a gym and actually go. I mean, I think about how many times I joined gyms and spent money, and I mean for years spent money every month that got taken out automatically of my checking account, and I didn't step foot in the place. I mean, there were years, literally, that I did that. And now the people in the gym know my name. I show up. I have classes that I go to and people I see and workout routines and workout buddies. And I still don't like it. But I do it, and it has just now become part of my life. And I'm actually kind of distressed right now because I have a foot injury that I have not been able to be in the gym and take my normal classes and normal things to do. And I'm rather frustrated by that, but I've been told I can get back doing some things next week, so I'm looking forward to that. And I think the other aha moment for me, or one of many, was that by trade through the years, I've been in the food and beverage industry and spent time both as a teaching chef and as someone who ran a catering company and ran a food and beverage program for a country club and was all around the food. That I would be able to modify my style of cooking that I had been trained in and still be able to create nice food, which was something I didn't think was possible. I didn't think it was possible to not use fats and flours and sugars and make food taste good. And that absolutely is not the case. So.
Two bad ones and one good one. The first aha was when I felt the nurse told me that the doctor saved my life. The second aha moment, I think, was when I went to start cardiac rehab and my blood pressure was too high. They said, you got to get your blood pressure down first. And then the third one was when my son looked at me and said, Dad, I didn't even recognize you down the hallway. You lost so much weight. So, and while 35 pounds is not that much, it is a lot when you're used to seeing somebody that's got a protruding belly and a little wider than he should be. So those were my three.
This is a hard question, but it is one I was prepared for because I attended the last panel sessions. I did a similar presentation, speaking engagement like this about a year and a half ago or so here at Milestone, and I think my aha moment came during that time, and it was a post-aha, not a pre-aha. But it came because I had brought a pair of pants that I wore at my heaviest weight to display during that speaking engagement. And it had been a year, 2 years since I had seen those pants. I kept one pair of pants, one belt, and one shirt from when I was at my heaviest weight. And so I remember I got the pair of pants out and I held them up, and they were humongous. And they were the pair of pants that I wore into this building during my first informational session. And the aha came when Chuck came over and said, you know what, I think we can both get in those pants. And we did. And so I had to bring them again today because otherwise you can't talk about that and not show them. So maybe that. But these were my pants when I first joined HMR. Look at this. Yeah, so they're, I think I wore them so much that the size is worn off of them, but I'm pretty certain they were 6X. And this was my belt. I didn't wear them with these pants, but yeah. So I'm standing on the edge of the belt. My foot is literally on the edge of this belt. That was my belt when I first came into HMR. So I started at a 66-inch pant size. I'm down to 36 inches, which is exciting. And I feel pretty confident that maybe 4 of those inches is skin. So I started at a 6X shirt, and I wear a medium or a small, depending on the brand. But that was the aha moment. It came much later, and it was, oh my gosh, I've lost 2 people. And Chuck and I can both fit in my pants.
My aha moment was really a sort of a funny story. I've become so indoctrinated to looking at the nutrition panel on the back of products. I forget to look at the front to see what it's called. And I was looking for some soup stock, and I wanted low sodium. It's hard to find because most of it's real high. And I found one. I was reading the back panel, all the nutrients were good and the sodium was right and so forth. And I put it back and forgot to see what it was called, what brand it was. And somebody else was asking me about it, and they said, well, where did I find it? I said, I can't remember the brand. So it's the training that, what do you do first when you pick up food? You go to the nutritional label, and you don't care the misinformation they're going to give you on the front. I won't say lies, but in many cases it is. But just that training of knowing what you're putting in your mouth is invaluable.
Alrighty. How would you say, let me see, I'm going to kind of mix these questions up a bit because you've answered some of them as we've gone. So, what would you say is the key to your continued success? Because there's a number of you all that have done this for a long time. So, what would you say is the key to your continued success?
No question. It's continuing to come to these classes. That keeps me on track, and I can't imagine not coming. I learned something new in every session. Just a few weeks ago, somebody was talking about the drudgery of learning how to cook and all this preparation it takes. And they said, instead of listening to the news on the radio in the kitchen, which is often depressing and can eat and to lead to want to eat more, they turn on classical music. And I thought, I could do that. So the last few weeks, I've been doing that, and it has made that experience much more enjoyable. So it's just one little tidbit.
Vigilance is I think the name of the game. There are bad foods at every turn, at every corner, in every restaurant. You can't even go into a clothing store nowadays. When you go to checkout, they have candy bars at the cash register. It's like, when did that happen? So vigilance, right, is the name of the game for continued success. You have to be prepared in every circumstance. You have to be vigilant and cautious at every turn. You have to, when you go into restaurants, ask for things. Triple check things. When it comes out, look at the plate underneath it and make sure it's not yellow. That's water and not butter, right? You have to stay vigilant in order to continue to live this lifestyle. It gets easier over time, much easier. The resistance of foods that are bad becomes something that you just do naturally, but you have to stay on the game all times because there are bad foods at every turn.
I think for me, it's just to remind myself of why I started this. Why did I come? What was the reason I started it? And I think if you go back and refocus on that goal, it puts you back on target. You look at that value. What does this mean to me? And why did it mean to me the first time? And why does it mean to me to continue to do it?
I think we're all going to be repeating a lot of the same things. That keep coming back, that if you do have a slip, do the next right thing, that every day and every meal, every bite you're about to put in your mouth, it can be the right bite if you've had the wrong bite before it. So you don't have to wait till tomorrow or Monday to make a change. And that it's progress, not perfection. That this is a lifelong journey. It doesn't have an end to it. We're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. So just remember it's progress.
So what keeps me going is this is my new lifestyle. This is how I do life. This is the new me. And so for me, my journey has been as I was working long hours, and I had a high level of stress and anxiety, and then I would turn to food and see food as a reward, or I would turn to food for pleasure, not fuel, and so it was my coping mechanism in life. And so for me, now I have found that the exercise, whatever form, there's so many different forms that you can try. I do not like running, and I do not like lifting weights. And I thought that those were the only two forms of exercise, and I still I won't do it, period. But I found yoga, I really enjoy that. I found indoor cycling, and I really enjoy that. So I don't look at those things as something I have to do. I look forward to them. And when I do them, I get a tremendous release. It takes away my stress and my anxiety. And then when I look at food, I can see food as fuel instead of like my savior that's going to rescue me from a hard day. So anyway, that's it.
And for me, the key to success and continued success is setting goals and saying those out loud to our health educators, to my friends, people who are going to hold me accountable, writing them down, keeping them in the forefront. I know November and December were going to be really challenging with the travel schedule that I had and different things going on. And Sharon had actually thrown out a challenge to us to complete an Ironman challenge. And that actually really helped with my travel to find different forms of exercise to complete that challenge. And I did by December 31st. And I achieved a big goal today that I've had for a while. But that doesn't mean I don't already know what my next goals are. And one of those I mentioned earlier was to get that metabolic age. I want that to actually be less than my real age. So knowing what those goals are ahead of me to keep striving for.
Okay, we're going to ask you all one more question because we want to have time to let you all ask some questions if you have any. So get them in your mind, write them down. We'll be right back. If you could give us 4 words of advice, what would they be?
I got it. Crystal's
got it.
I had to count first. I got 4. Yep, I got them. Stay in the box.
Life is all about choices.
I think Chuck may have set us up on this one. Answer.
I can't think of 4 words, it takes too many.
You got to find your why.
Crystal stole mine.
Just do it.
All righty.
Well, thank you all so much for doing this. It was amazing. I've still got tears in my eyes. So you guys are awesome examples, and thank you for sharing your stories. Any other closing words before we close out for the live? We are going to have an information session after this. So if you are new to, if you've not done HMR, if you're a visitor, if someone brought you here, we will have an information session after this, which where we'll go over the whole program for you, just to, so you can decide if you want to do it on your own. That will be at 11:30. We will have lunch. We'll provide a lunch between 11 and, or when we get out of here. So before the orientation session, we will feed you. Maybe I may even make you a shake. So we'll go from there. So if you are a visitor, raise your hand. I got lots of visitors. I only have like 4 names in the basket back there. So if you're a visitor, go ahead and put your name. Is whoever brought you here. We'll get you before we do a drawing. We'll do that afterwards. But so if you're a visitor, we have lots of visitors here. Make sure your name is in the drawing. We'll draw your name out, and then if you did not sign, we have door prizes. We'll announce in just a second. But if you've not signed up for the door prize, put your name in the hat for the door prize. So thank you all very, very much, and it was amazing. So thank you all.